My name is Rachel Donovan. I'm 34 years old. 3 months ago, my mother's night nurse called me at 2:47 in the morning and said 2 words that should have sent me running to my car. Come now. I didn't go. My brother told me not to. He said Mom was fine, that the nurse was overreacting, that he'd already checked on her and I should get some sleep. I trusted him. 4 hours later, my mother died asking for me. And when I walked into her room at Riverside Memory Care that morning, I found a manila folder hidden under her mattress that proved my brother had been lying about more than just that phone call. He'd been lying for 6 months, and what he did with those lies cost me the last lucid conversation I would ever have with my mother. Before I tell you what was in that folder and what happened to my brother because of it, if this story means something to you, please take a moment to like and subscribe. And drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and whether you've ever trusted the wrong person at the worst possible time. I want to know I'm not alone in this. Now let me take you back to January of last year, to the day my mother got lost driving to Safeway, and the moment our family started falling apart. My mother's name was Linda Donovan. She was 68 years old. She taught second grade for 34 years at Garfield Elementary in Olympia, Washington. She knew every student's name, their siblings' names, their dogs' names. She remembered birthdays without writing them down. She could recite poetry from memory and told stories about her childhood in Montana, like she was reading from a book. On January 11, 2025, she left her house at 10 in the morning to buy groceries at the Safeway 3 miles away, a place she'd shopped at twice a week for 22 years. She didn't come home. At 2:30 that afternoon, a police officer found her parked in a Walmart parking lot in Lacey, 15 miles in the wrong direction, crying because she couldn't remember where she lived. My brother Derek called me that night. Rachel, something's wrong with Mom. Really wrong. I drove down from Tacoma the next morning. I'm a physical therapist at a sports medicine clinic near the waterfront, and I'd taken the day off. The drive from my apartment to my mom's house in Olympia usually takes 35 minutes if traffic is good. That morning it took 42 because I kept pulling over to cry. When I got there, Mom was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, looking out the window. She smiled when she saw me. Rachel, sweetheart, what are you doing here? I came to see you, Mom. On a Tuesday? Don't you have work? I took the day off. She looked confused. Why? Derek was standing in the doorway. He gave me a look that said, see? Over the next 2 weeks, we took Mom to 3 doctors: neurologist, geriatric specialist, cognitive assessment at Providence St. Peter Hospital. The tests came back in early February. Early onset Alzheimer's disease. Rapidly progressing. The doctor, a kind woman named Dr. Helen Cartwright, sat us down in her office and explained it in a voice that was gentle but didn't sugarcoat anything. Your mother's cognitive decline is happening faster than typical Alzheimer's. We're seeing significant memory loss, disorientation, and confusion. She's going to need full-time care within the next... Derek asked the question I couldn't. How long does she have? It's hard to say. With this rate of progression, possibly 12 to 18 months. My sister Vanessa, who'd driven up from Portland for the appointment, started crying. I held Mom's hand. Mom was staring at a painting on the wall, a landscape of mountains. She didn't seem to understand what the doctor was saying. We moved Mom into Riverside Memory Care in March 2025. It's a skilled nursing facility on the south side of Olympia, near the Capitol. The building is new, brick and glass, with a landscaped courtyard and a memory garden where residents can walk safely. It's one of the best facilities in the state. It costs $8,200 a month. Mom had money. After my dad died 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack at age 63, she'd sold the family house in Tumwater and moved into a smaller place closer to her school. She'd put the proceeds, about $340,000, into a savings account. For my care when I get old, she'd told me. She didn't know she'd need it at 68. Derek, my older brother, volunteered to handle the finances. He was 38, a real estate developer, married to a woman named Ashley, 2 kids, a nice house in the West Olympia Hills. He had power of attorney. Dad had given it to him before he died. You're the oldest son, Dad had said. You'll know what to do. Derek set up automatic payments from Mom's account to the facility. He sent Vanessa and me monthly email updates with the balance, the costs, the projections. Everything looked clean. I visited Mom 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'd drive down after work, sit with her for an hour or two, Sometimes bring dinner from her favorite Thai place on 4th Avenue. Some days she knew who I was. Some days she called me by her sister's name. Some days she just smiled and held my hand and didn't say anything at all. Vanessa visited once a month from Portland, 2-hour drive each way. She's a marketing consultant, travels a lot for work, and she felt guilty every time she had to cancel. Derek visited on Sundays. He'd stay for 20 minutes, check in with the staff, and leave. "I live 10 minutes away," he'd say. "I can get here fast if there's an emergency." That was supposed to be the plan, that he'd be the one who could get there fast. In September, 6 months after Mom moved into Riverside, I mentioned at a family dinner that I was thinking about moving to Olympia. There was an opening at a physical therapy clinic near the hospital, and I wanted to be closer to Mom. Derek set down his fork. "Rachel, that's a big decision. You'd be leaving your job, your apartment, your whole life in Tacoma. I know, but Mom's getting worse. I want to be nearby. She doesn't even recognize you half the time." I looked at him. "That's not true. I'm just saying, don't uproot your entire life for someone who might not even know you're there." Vanessa, sitting across from me, didn't say anything. Ashley, Derek's wife, nodded along. "Derek's right, it's a lot to give up." I didn't move. Not in September. But in December, the physical therapy clinic in Olympia called me back. They were still interested. They wanted to interview me. I drove down on a Saturday, met with the director, toured the facility. They offered me the job on the spot. Same pay, better benefits, closer to my mom. I called Derek that night. "I got the job, the one in Olympia. I'm thinking about taking it." There was a pause. "Rachel, are you sure that's a good idea? Why wouldn't it be? You've been at your clinic for 6 years. You have seniority. You're throwing that away." "I'm not throwing it away. I'm making a choice." Another pause. "Let me ask you something. How many times in the last month has Mom actually recognized you?" I didn't answer. "That's what I thought. Listen, I know this is hard, but Mom's not going to get better. Moving closer isn't going to change that. And when she's gone, you'll be stuck in Olympia with a new job and no reason to be there." I thanked him for his input and hung up. I turned down the job. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't find out until the morning my mother died, was that 3 months earlier, in September, Derek had walked into Riverside Memory Care and told the staff something that wasn't true. He told them I'd moved to Spokane, 5 hours away. He said I'd taken a job there, that I was too far away to visit regularly, and that all emergency calls should go to him first. The staff updated my contact information. They kept my phone number but added a note. "Lives in Spokane, 5 hours away. Contact brother first." I had no idea. I was 35 minutes away the entire time. I kept visiting 3 times a week. I kept driving down from Tacoma every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'd walk into the facility, sign the visitor log, sit with my mom, and leave. The day staff knew me. They saw me constantly. But Derek had told the night staff something different, and the night staff, the ones who handled emergencies, believed him. For 6 months, I was 35 minutes away, and my brother made sure that when it mattered most, no one would call me. The call came on March 15th, 2026, a Saturday, 2:47 in the morning. I sleep with my phone on my nightstand, ringer on, because of Mom. I'd been doing that since she moved into Riverside, just in case. The phone lit up, unknown number. I answered before the second ring. "Hello?" A woman's voice, calm but urgent. "Is this Rachel Donovan?" "Yes. This is Joyce Mendez. I'm the night nurse at Riverside Memory Care. I'm calling about your mother, Linda." I sat up, heart already pounding. "What's wrong? Is she okay?" "She's awake and she's asking for you. She's very lucid right now, which is unusual for this time of night. She keeps saying your name. I think you should come." Mom hadn't been lucid in weeks. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Thank you. Please hurry." I hung up. I was already pulling on jeans, grabbing my keys. Then I stopped. Derek lived 10 minutes from the facility. I should let him know. He could get there faster, check on Mom while I drove. I called him. It rang 4 times before he picked up. His voice was thick with sleep. "Rachel? What's going on?" "The nurse just called. Mom's awake and asking for me. She said she's lucid. I'm driving down now." "Wait, what? What nurse?" "Joyce, the night nurse. She said Mom's asking for me." Derek was quiet for a second. Then his voice shifted, more alert. "Hold on, I was just there." "You were?" "Yeah, like 3 hours ago." I couldn't sleep, so I drove over and checked on her. She was fine, little restless, but fine. "The nurse is overreacting. She said Mom's lucid." "Rachel, Mom hasn't been lucid in a month. She probably woke up confused and said a name. That's not the same thing as lucid." "Trust me, I was just there. She's okay." I hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Look, It's almost 3 in the morning. The roads are going to be empty, but it's still a 30-minute drive in the dark. You're exhausted. You've been working all week. Don't kill yourself driving down here for a false alarm. If anything changes, I'll call you. I promise. I looked at my keys in my hand, my jacket half on. Okay, but if she asks for me again, I'll call you immediately. Get some sleep. I hung up. I took off my jacket. I set my keys down. I got back into bed. I trusted my brother. At 6:42 a.m., my phone rang again. Same unknown number, I answered. Hello? It was Joyce again. Her voice was different this time, tight, strained. Rachel, I'm so sorry. Your mother passed away about 4 minutes ago. The world stopped. What? She kept asking for you. All night. She was lucid until about 4:30. Then she slipped into unconsciousness. We called your brother at 2:47, but he said he'd handle it and that you were too far away. I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. I thought he'd tell you. I thought you knew. My hands were shaking. My brother told me not to come. He said he'd just been there and that she was fine. Silence on the other end. Ms. Donovan, no one came to visit your mother last night except your brother at 11 p.m. yesterday evening. He stayed for 8 minutes. No one came after I called at 2:47. I couldn't breathe. I'm so sorry, Joyce said again. I didn't know you were close by. Your chart says you live in Spokane. I thought. I live in Tacoma. I'm 35 minutes away. I've always been 35 minutes away. Another silence. I think you need to come down here, Joyce said quietly. I drove to Olympia in 29 minutes. I don't remember most of the drive. I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I remember the sky starting to turn gray over the freeway. I remember pulling into the Riverside parking lot at 7:11 a.m. and seeing Derek's black Audi already there. He was in the lobby when I walked in. He stood up when he saw me. Rachel, I'm so sorry. I just got the call 20 minutes ago. I got here as fast as I could. I walked past him without saying a word. Joyce was waiting outside Mom's room. She was a small woman, maybe 50, with dark hair pulled back in a bun and eyes that looked like she'd been crying. I'm Rachel. She nodded. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry I didn't call you directly. I called the main number on file, and your brother answered. I didn't know. It's not your fault. She opened the door. My mother was lying in the bed, hands folded on her chest, covered with a white blanket. Her face looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. I sat down in the chair next to her and took her hand. It was still warm. I stayed there for an hour. Joyce left Mommy alone. Derek tried to come in twice. I told him to leave both times. At 8:15, Joyce came back in. She was holding a manila folder. Ms. Donovan, I need to show you something. Your mother asked me to give this to you if anything happened to her. She hid it under her mattress 3 days ago. She made me promise. She handed me the folder. I opened it. Inside were 3 things. The first was a will, typed, dated July 18th, 2025, 8 months ago. It was witnessed by 2 staff members at Riverside, names I didn't recognize. The language was simple. I, Linda Marie Donovan, being of sound mind, do hereby revoke all previous wills and declare this to be my last will and testament. I leave my estate as follows: 40% to my daughter Rachel Donovan, 40% to my daughter Vanessa Donovan, 20% to my son Derek Donovan. I am reducing Derek's share due to his dishonesty regarding Rachel's whereabouts and his financial mismanagement of my care funds. I read it twice. The second thing in the folder was a stack of bank statements, my mother's savings account. I flipped through them. March 2025, $340,000. April 2025, $331,800 facility payment. May 2025, $323,600 facility payment. 8,200 June 2025, $300,000 facility payment. 8,200 to dollar. Additional withdrawal. 10,000 July 25, 287,200. Additional withdrawal. 10,000. I kept flipping. Every month, $8,200 for the facility. But also additional withdrawals. $10,000 in June, $10,000 in July, $15,000 in August, $12,000 in September, $18,000 in October, $20,000 in November. By February 2026, the account was down to $178,000. The facility costs for 11 months should have been $90,200. The account had lost $162,000. Someone had taken $71,800 that wasn't for the facility. The third thing in the folder was a handwritten note. My mother's handwriting, shaky but legible. Rachel, Derek told everyone you moved away. You didn't. I know you didn't. You were here Tuesday. He's lying. He's always lying. The money is going somewhere else. Find it. I love you. Mom, I sat there holding that note for a long time. Joyce stood in the doorway. She wrote that during a lucid moment on Tuesday afternoon. She asked me to hide the folder. She said Derek couldn't know about it. She said you'd need it. I looked up at her. She was lucid on Tuesday for about an hour. It happened sometimes. Brief windows. She knew exactly who she was, where she was, and what was happening. She asked me to call you if she ever had another lucid episode at night. She said you'd come. I would have. I know, I called the number on file. Your brother answered. He told me he'd handle it. I folded the note carefully and put it back in the folder. Thank you for calling me, Joyce. I'm sorry it wasn't enough. I walked out of the room and found Derek in the hallway. We need to talk. Rachel, I know you're upset, but not here, outside. We went to the parking lot. It was 8:30 in the morning. The sun was up. The air was cold. I handed him the folder. Explain this. He opened it. His face went pale. Where did you get this? Mom hid it under her mattress. The nurse gave it to me. Now explain it. He flipped through the bank statements. Rachel, I can explain. You took $71,000 from her account. I borrowed it. I was going to pay it back. Borrowed it for what? He didn't answer. Derek, for what? My business. The development project in West Olympia. We had a cash flow issue. I needed a short-term loan. The bank wouldn't give me one. I was going to replace it in 6 months. You stole from our dying mother to save your real estate project? I didn't steal. I borrowed. And she wasn't going to need it. The doctor said she had 6 months, maybe a year. The facility costs were covered. I was going to put it all back before she died. He looked at the ground. You were waiting for her to die so you could cover your tracks. That's not. And the phone call. Last night, Joyce called at 2:47. She said Mom was lucid and asking for me. You told me not to come. Derek's jaw tightened. I didn't think it was real. Mom hasn't been lucid in weeks. Joyce said Mom was awake and lucid until 4:30 in the morning. I could have been here. I could have talked to her. I could have said goodbye. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because Joyce told me. Mom was asking for me by name. She wanted to tell me about you, about the money, about the lies, and you made sure I wouldn't get here in time. Derek's face was red now. I was trying to protect you. From what? From this. He gestured at the folder. From her accusing me of things she didn't understand. She was confused, Rachel. She didn't know what she was saying. She knew exactly what she was saying. She wrote it down. She had the bank statements. She had witnesses for a new will. She was lucid enough to know you were lying. He opened his mouth, then closed it. And Spokane, I said. You told the staff I moved to Spokane, 5 hours away. Why? I didn't want them bothering you every time she had a bad night. That's not your decision to make. You were already driving down 3 times a week. You were exhausted. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to control who got called when Mom needed someone. Because you knew if I was here, I'd figure out what you were doing. Derek's hands were shaking. He shoved them in his pockets. I'm calling Vanessa, I said. And then I'm calling a lawyer. Rachel, please. Mom left a will. You get 20%. I'm going to make sure that's all you get. I walked back to my car. Derek followed me. Rachel, wait, we can work this out. Family, I stopped, turned around. You made sure I wasn't there when she died. You don't get to call me family. I got in my car and drove away. Vanessa arrived in Olympia 3 hours later. I met her at a coffee shop on 4th Avenue, a place called Burial Grounds that Mom used to love. I showed her everything, the will, the bank statements, the note. She read it all without saying a word. When she finished, she set the folder down on the table and looked out the window. He stole from her. Yes. And he lied to you about where you lived. Yes. And he told you not to come when she was dying. Yes. She was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at me. What do you need me to do? I need you to back me up. When we meet with the lawyer, when we file probate, when Derek tries to fight this, he's going to fight it. I know. And it's going to get ugly. I know. Vanessa reached across the table and took my hand. Mom loved you so much. You know that, right? I nodded. I couldn't speak. She knew you'd figure it out. That's why she left the folder. I should have been there, Vanessa. I should have ignored him and driven down. You trusted him. That's not your fault. It feels like my fault. It's not. This is on Derek. All of it. We sat there for a while, drinking coffee, not saying much. Outside, people walked by on the sidewalk, living their normal Saturday lives. My mother was dead, and the world just kept moving. At 1 p.m., we met Derek at Olympia Memorial Funeral Home on Capitol Way. It's a large building, old brick, with a parking lot in the back and a sign that's been there since the 1960s. Derek was already inside, sitting in the arrangement room with a funeral director named Mr. Palmer, a man in his 60s with gray hair and a kind face. Vanessa and I sat down across from them. Mr. Palmer offered his condolences. We thanked him. He asked about service preferences, burial or cremation, flowers, music. Derek answered most of the questions. Mom had wanted cremation. She'd wanted her ashes spread in Montana, where she grew up. Then Mr. Palmer brought up the estate. We'll need a copy of the will to proceed with payment arrangements. Derek pulled a document out of his briefcase. Here, this is the will from 2020. Mr. Palmer took it, glanced at it, nodded. I pulled the folder out of my bag. Actually, there's a more recent will. Derek's head snapped toward me. Rachel. I handed Mr. Palmer the will dated July 18, 2025. He read it carefully, looked at the signatures, looked at the notary's stamp. This supersedes the 2020 will. It's more recent and properly executed. Derek stood up. That will isn't valid. My mother had Alzheimer's. She wasn't competent to draft a will. Mr. Palmer looked at him calmly. It's witnessed by 2 care facility staff members and notarized. The notary wouldn't have signed off unless they believed she was competent at the time of signing. She wasn't. That's a legal determination, Mr. Donovan. Not mine to make. You'll need to address that with the probate court. Derek looked at me. You're really going to do this? Yes, she was our mother. I know. That's why I'm honoring the will she wrote when she was lucid. Vanessa spoke for the first time. Derek, just stop. He looked at her. You're siding with her? I'm siding with Mom. And the bank statements. And the $71,000 you took. Derek's face went red. I was going to pay it back. But you didn't. I didn't have time. She died sooner then. He stopped, realized what he'd just said. Vanessa's voice was ice. Sooner than you expected, so you could cover it up. Silence, Mr. Palmer cleared his throat. I think perhaps we should schedule another meeting once the estate is settled. I'll hold off on invoicing until there's clarity on the executor. We left. Derek stayed behind. In the parking lot, Vanessa turned to me. I can't believe he said that. That she died sooner than expected. He was waiting for her to die. God, Rachel, I'm calling a lawyer on Monday. Good. I'll split the cost with you. We hugged. Vanessa got in her car and drove back to Portland. I went back to my apartment in Tacoma. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about 2:47 a.m., about Joyce's call, about my jacket half on, my keys in my hand, and the moment I decided to trust Derek. If I'd driven, I would have been there by 3:30. I would have had an hour with my mother while she was lucid, maybe more. I would have heard her voice, clear and strong, one last time. I would have been able to say goodbye. Derek took that from me, and I was going to make sure he paid for it. On Monday morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Nguyen, an estate attorney in Olympia with an office near the Capitol building. I'd found her online, read reviews, called her office, and scheduled a consultation for that afternoon. I drove down at 2 p.m. Her office was on the 3rd floor of a renovated building, modern and clean. She was in her early 40s, sharp, professional, and she listened to everything I said without interrupting. When I finished, she opened the folder I'd brought and reviewed every document. This will is valid, she said. 2 witnesses, notarized, clear language. Your brother can contest it, but he'll need to prove your mother lacked capacity at the time of signing. Given that it was witnessed by facility staff who interact with her daily, that's going to be difficult. What about the money he took? That's a separate issue. If he withdrew funds from her account without authorization, that's financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. That's a felony in Washington. I want to report it. To the police? Yes, she nodded. I can help you file the probate petition for this will, but for the criminal matter, you'll need to file a report with Adult Protective Services and the Thurston County Sheriff's Office. I can refer you to someone who handles elder abuse cases. Do it. She made a call. Within an hour, I had the name and number of a detective at the sheriff's office who specialized in financial exploitation cases. His name was Detective Mark Gruber. I called him that evening. He asked me to come in the next day. Tuesday morning, I sat in a small interview room at the Thurston County Sheriff's Office and told Detective Gruber everything. He took notes, asked questions, requested copies of the bank statements, the will, and the note my mother had written. We'll need to do a full audit of the account, he said, and we'll need to interview your brother. How long will that take? A few weeks, maybe a month. These cases move slowly. She's already gone. He already got away with it while she was alive. Not if we can prove what he did. I left the sheriff's office and drove to Riverside Memory Care. Joyce was working the day shift. She saw me in the lobby and walked over, eyes full of concern. How are you holding up? I'm okay. I wanted to thank you for calling me, for keeping the folders safe. Your mother was very specific about that folder. She made me promise. Can I ask you something? Of course, the night she died. What did she say when she was lucid? Joyce's face softened. She talked about you constantly. She said you were her favorite visitor, that you came all the time even though you lived far away. I told her you lived in Spokane, and she got upset. She said, no, Rachel lives in Tacoma. She's close. Derek lied. That's when she asked me to call you. My throat tightened. What else did she say? She said she needed to tell you about the papers, that Derek took money, that you had to know the truth. She stayed awake until almost 4:30 waiting for you. She kept asking, is Rachel here yet? I told her I'd called that you were coming. She smiled. She said, good. She'll fix it. Rachel always fixes things. I started crying. Joyce handed me a tissue. Then around 4:30, she closed her eyes. She said, I'm tired now. And she went to sleep. She didn't wake up. Did she seem scared? No. She seemed peaceful. Like she'd done what she needed to do. I wiped my face. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry you didn't get to see her. Me too. I drove home. That night, I wrote down everything Joyce had told me. I wanted to remember it exactly. The audit took 3 weeks. Detective Gruber called me on April 8th. We've completed the financial review. Your brother withdrew $85,000 from your mother's account over a 10-month period. Of that, $13,800 went to facility costs that were legitimate. The remaining $71,200 went to his personal accounts. What did he use it for? We traced it. $62,000 went to a failing real estate development project in West Olympia. $15,000 went to his daughter's private school tuition at Olympia Waldorf. $8,000 went to a family vacation to Maui in December. He stole from our dying mother to pay for his daughter's school and a vacation. Yes. What happens now? We're recommending charges. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, forgery, theft in the first degree. The prosecutor's office will make the final decision, but given the evidence, I expect they'll file. How long? Could be a few weeks, could be a couple of months. And what about the will? That's civil. Separate process. But the criminal case will help your probate petition. The prosecutor's office filed charges on April 22nd. Derek was arrested at his home in West Olympia at 7 a.m. He posted bail 6 hours later. Vanessa called me that afternoon. Did you hear? I heard. Ashley's filing for divorce. Good. His real estate license is suspended pending the criminal case. Good. Rachel, are you okay? You don't sound fine. I just keep thinking about that night, Vanessa. I keep thinking that if I'd ignored him, if I'd just driven, I would have been there. You couldn't have known. But I should have. I should have trusted my gut. Derek is the one who lied, not you. I know. But it doesn't change the fact that I wasn't there. We were quiet for a moment. The funeral is Saturday, Vanessa said. Are we inviting Derek? No. Good. We held the service on April 27th at a small chapel in Olympia. Just Vanessa, me, a few of Mom's old friends from Garfield Elementary, and Joyce from Riverside. We played Mom's favorite music. Simon and Garfunkel, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor. We read some of her favorite poems. We shared stories. Joyce stood up and told everyone about the night Mom died, about how lucid she'd been, about how she'd asked for me. I didn't cry during the service. I cried after, in the parking lot, sitting in my car with Vanessa. She knew, I said. She knew Derek was lying, and she tried to warn me. And she did. The folder. The note. She made sure you'd find out. But I didn't find out in time. You found out when she wanted you to. When it mattered. Derek's trial was scheduled for July. He didn't go to trial. On June 15th, his lawyer called the prosecutor and offered a plea deal. Guilty to financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Guilty to forgery. Guilty to theft in the first degree. In exchange, the prosecutor recommended 18 months in county jail, 5 years probation, and full restitution of the $71,200 plus interest. The judge accepted the plea on June 20th. Derek stood in front of the court, hands cuffed, and apologized. I made a terrible mistake. I was under financial pressure, and I made a decision I deeply regret. I loved my mother, and I'm sorry for what I did. The judge looked at him for a long time. Mr. Donovan, you didn't just steal money, you stole time. You lied to your sister about where she lived so she wouldn't be called when your mother was dying. You prioritized your financial interests over your mother's final moments with her daughter. That's not a mistake. That's cruelty. The judge sentenced him to 18 months, ordered restitution, and added an additional condition. Derek was prohibited from contesting the will. He served 11 months, released early for good behavior in May 2027. By then, the estate was settled. The probate court had validated Mom's 2025 will. Vanessa and I each received 40% of the remaining estate, about $95,000 after restitution and legal fees. Derek received nothing. He'd been disqualified due to his criminal conviction. I used my share to pay off my student loans and put the rest in savings. I took the physical therapy job in Olympia, the one I'd turned down in December. I started in August 2026. I see Joyce sometimes. She still works at Riverside. I volunteer there once Saturday a month now, helping families navigate the facility, advocating for better communication between staff and families. I keep Mom's note on my desk at work, the one she wrote in shaky handwriting. Derek told everyone you moved away. You didn't. I know you didn't. She knew. Even when her mind was failing, she knew. Derek lives in a studio apartment in Lacey now. He works as a property manager for a rental company. His real estate license was permanently revoked. Ashley took the kids and moved to Spokane. He sees them twice a month. He sent me a letter in October, 6 months after his release. It was handwritten, 2 pages. He said he was sorry, that he'd been under pressure, that he'd made a series of bad decisions that spiraled, that he wished he could take it all back. He didn't mention the phone call. He didn't mention lying about where I lived. He didn't mention telling me not to come that night. I read the letter once. Then I folded it, put it in a drawer, and haven't looked at it since. People ask me sometimes if I've forgiven him. I don't know how to answer that. He's my brother. I grew up with him. I have memories of him teaching me to ride a bike, helping me with homework, making me laugh at Thanksgiving dinner. But he's also the person who made sure I wasn't there when my mother died. And I don't know if you can forgive something like that. What I do know is this: I trusted the wrong person at the worst possible time. I let someone else make a decision that should have been mine, and it cost me the last conversation I'll ever have with my mother. If someone ever calls you in the middle of the night and says, "Come now, go," don't ask anyone else. Don't wait for permission. Don't let someone tell you it's a false alarm or that you're overreacting. Go, because you don't get those moments back. My mother left me a note, a will, and a trail to follow. She protected me even from a hospital bed with a failing mind. She made sure I'd know the truth. Derek thought he was smarter, thought he could control the narrative, control the money, control who got called when it mattered. But my mother outsmarted him from a memory care unit with a manila folder and a nurse who cared enough to make the call. I didn't get to say goodbye, but I got justice. And sometimes that's the only closure you get. It's been months since that night. I still think about 2:47 a.m., about my keys in my hand and my jacket half on, about the choice I made to trust my brother instead of my gut. I think about the 2 hours I could have had with my mother. 2 hours of her being lucid, being herself, being the woman who raised me. 2 hours to say I love you. 2 hours to say goodbye. Derek stole $85,000 from my mother. But what he really stole was those 2 hours. And I'll never forgive him for that. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I know this wasn't an easy story. I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it before you answer. Have you ever ignored your gut feeling and regretted it? Have you ever trusted someone who told you not to go, not to check, not to worry, and then wished you'd ignored them? Or have you ever had a family member lie to keep you away from someone you loved? Drop a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one. And if this story meant something to you, if it reminded you to trust your instincts and show up for the people you love, hit that subscribe button. Check the description for another story about a family member who controlled everything until one document changed it all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. My name is Rachel Donovan. My mother's name was Linda, and she deserved better than what my brother gave her. But she made sure I knew the truth, and that's the last gift she ever gave me.